Well, greetings from wherever you are watching us from. Welcome to our YouTube channel, CK Sports, where we discuss everything sports, everything football, Ugandan football, African football, and yes, sometimes global football. Clive Kyazze is my name, just to encourage you to subscribe to our channel if you are yet to subscribe. But also a big thank you to whoever has already subscribed. A big thank you to whoever likes our comment. A big thank you to whoever does a comment on our videos. It is a good feedback, it is a positive criticism, and we do enjoy it, and we know that is the only way we can get better. There is lots of videos. If you're watching us for the first time, you can peruse through the channel. Quite a lot of content that you can always watch and enjoy, predominantly about African football, of course, the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup. We do have an exclusive interview with the State Minister for Sports, Honorable Peter Wang, giving us a couple of highlights as Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania get to prepare for the 2024 Championship of African Nations. We do have an exclusive interview with Brian Senyondo, the head coach of the Uganda Under-17 team, the Cubs. He guided them to that FIFA Under-17 World Cup later this year, actually, in Qatar, and lots of other videos that you will enjoy. In this episode, we are going to be discussing the CAF Champions League. They just concluded first leg semifinals, and also try to preview the upcoming return legs that will be played this weekend in Cairo, Egypt. And I won't be doing that alone. I am in good company of none other than Mr. Peter Tabu. He does run the pitch side with Peter Tabu on YouTube. Peter, first of all, the Easter holiday is done and dusted. How have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. Hello, everyone. Much appreciation for always catching up on the content and following up on what we do. Yeah, we are back again. Please allow our faces be familiar to you because this will continue for a while. And I'm glad to be here. Easter has been great. Yeah, so there's nothing to complain about.
What's cooking at pitch side?
What's cooking at pitch side? We have content out there, quite a number of interviews that we've done. The latest right now on pitch side is an interview with Kasuku, which has gotten so many people excited and laughing. Yeah, but basically talking about how he looks at the Champions League and how it will end, and also, the relation between sports media and sports federations in Uganda. But we also have the Brian Omonyi interview and a lot others that we've been doing. So yeah, I would definitely urge people to go out on YouTube, search for Pitch Side with Tabo Peter, and catch up on all that content.
And probably also, for me, the performance of clubs like Orlando Pirates, Mamelodi Sundowns, Simba Sports Club in Tanzania has gotten so many sleeping giants around the region waking up. And some of the interviews that I've actually watched on the Pitch Side was that interview with the chairman of APR Football Club in Rwanda. If you're yet to watch it, I think it is something that you need to catch up on and see. In a very short time, teams around the East African region will be rubbing shoulders with the other teams around the region, because tournaments like the CAF Champions League, the CAF Confederations Cup are becoming very lucrative when it comes to finances and stuff like that. But also, there is the big one, the FIFA Club World Cup. Winning that competition qualifies you to play in that FIFA Club World Cup. And when you look at the money that FIFA is throwing around to these clubs, any club from around the region will surely, by the way, have their activities boosted and stuff like that. But droving straight into our discussions, Peter, during the Easter holiday, of course, we had the semifinals of the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup. And I will start with the CAF Champions League. Two games played in Pretoria and Johannesburg that we anticipated. We are going to be exciting, we are going to be breathtaking, because we know a final is at stake. And of course, the first one earlier on was in Pretoria, where Mamelodi Sundowns were taking on Ahly. And the game ended in a barren draw.
Yeah, of course, the Continental Derby did not exactly provide what many people were expecting to see. at a sizable crowd at the Lufthansa Stadium. In that game, of course, many thought Mamelodi Sundowns would draw first blood and try and get a result. I mean, win against Ahly, because they know in the return leg it's always tough to actually travel to Egypt and get a win. But you'd say a game of mixed emotions, mixed reactions from both ends from both sides of the clubs. There was not a lot that was registered, really. There was not a potential threat on both ends. I didn't see both goalkeepers very busy. El Shenawi and Ronan Williams weren't that busy. Of course, a couple of saves here and there, a couple of attacks that you felt maybe goals would come through, but both teams were able to contain themselves. You look at, people like Teboho Mokoena, very good from shooting from a distance. He tried a couple of shots that were off target. Ribeiro tried to, break through that Ahly defense. He was unable to. So it was, you could see that both teams were matching at each other. They were sort of at the same level. They just needed that extra edge, that extra push, to get through or to get over the line. But that did not happen. One thing for sure, it was a very good advert for African football. The quality of players at both ends of the pitch was there for everyone to see, and also the skill and the thrill that came with Ahly playing Mamelodi Sundowns in South Africa was also there. Of course, a number of fans came in to support the team, although the Sundowns head coach was not impressed with the crowds. He felt the Lufthansa field should have been completely full, a full house.
Yeah, but somebody needs to remind him that it wasn't Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates playing. but also for me, Peter, about the crowd, the 3 p.m. kickoff
yes,
looks like it is a disadvantage, first of all, to the fans, because at 3 p.m., people are just leaving work, and you could even see on TV that fans were actually still getting into the stadium. It wasn't like until halftime that you had a sizable crowd. But by kickoff, the stadium was still empty, but at least you could see that people were still walking on. And it was the same case in that game against Esperance.
Yeah, of course, the early kickoff usually works in the favor of the technical beat, the Arabs coming in and struggling with the heat and all, but doesn't automatically mean that the fans are going to come into large numbers. I think the early kickoff that fans really showed up and filled the Lucas Moripe was when Sundowns played Zamalek in that first leg, in the final in 2016. It was still, under the sun, and the crowds were crazy. They filled up that stadium, and let me tell you, the Lucas Moripe Stadium, when you look at it on camera, it looks ugly when the fans are not there, because the stands are literally empty. It looks more ugly than the Loftus field, because Loftus is a bit compact. The blue seats you can easily look for a sizable crowd.
Give a bit of color.
Yes, give a bit of color. But yes, sometimes it's a bit hard for the fans to connect quickly and arrive at the game and sit early and then watch the game. So I understand what the Sundowns head coach was trying to explain. And it came to bite them. They didn't really have the 12th man support them throughout that game. And the game ended all square. So there's a lot to do in the return leg.
Well, of course, like it was expected that Sundowns were going to be very dominant with their possession. And that is what they exactly gave us. But at the end of the day, 6 shots, 0 on target compared to Al Ahly's 12 shots, and 3 of those were on target. For a team playing at home, not have a shot on target for 90 minutes, I find that a little bit disappointing. Like you did say, if the return leg is in Cairo.
To start with, Sundowns have not had a very good run in the Champions League this season, by the way. If you look at the group stages, I think they finished ahead. They finished behind Esperance, 11 points, 13 points, if I remember correctly. But also, how they went through the group stages was really a tough one, because I know that they drew with Maniema, a team that was playing for the first time in the group stages.
Yes, they finished below Farabat.
They finished below Farabat. Thank you very much. I was saying that you look at their home performance and the games they played away in the group stages, they weren't exactly a very good performance. They struggled to get games going even at home. So that is something that has, come through to haunt them. And even when you look at their away performance in the group stages, I think they only managed 3 points from a possible 6.
That's in the group stages.
In the group stages. They
From
beat
a possible 6 and they are available 9.
Yeah, the available 9. They beat Maniema away by 2-1, then drew with Asfa. I 1-1. I think in Morocco something, and then I think Asfa beat them at home if I'm not mistaken. So it's you can see that pattern of them not being consistent this season in the Champions League. So if you mention stats like them not having a shot at target and them struggling to score, I think you go back to that flow of how they were playing in the group stages of this season in the Champions League, and you can see that it wasn't a very good one. And where they're headed to makes it even harder, because Sundowns against Ahly away in probably the last 5 games, they've, I think, managed a point and lost the other 4 games against Ahly in Cairo. So that makes it even harder to think that now traveling to Cairo, they could easily go there and pick up a result. So it again goes back to the point that we mentioned, that it should have been easier for them to kill off the tie in Pretoria and then go and manage it in away. But I mean, it's going to be tough for them away.
Well, you're talking about their run in the competition. Maybe just to go through it quickly. They started with the barren draw at home against Maniema,
yes,
who are debutants on the continent, if I'm not mistaken. Then they played to a 1-1 draw with FAR Rabat in Morocco. They had a red card in that one. Then returned home. This is where they picked their first points against Raja Casablanca 1-0. Then they lost to Raja Casablanca in the return leg in Morocco 1-0. They got 2 red cards in that one. Raja Casablanca also got a red card. Then they traveled to Congo and defeated Maniema at 2-1 at home. They played to a barren draw with FAR Rabat, which was a 1-1 draw. That is how they performed in the group stages, to finish on 9 points, as FAR Rabat finished on top of the table on 10 points.
Absolutely, that's not a very good. That's what the Sundowns we know. Usually in the group stages, you know, at least they're on 12, 13 points, 14.
They'll pick the 6 at home,
and they score goals,
rather than 9 at home
in the process. That has not happened this season, and you can see that it's coming back to bite them in the semi-finals.
Well, before we look at the other semi-final, Peter, the return leg is going to be played this weekend in front of a full-to-capacity Cairo International Stadium, because information we are getting that Ahly submitted to the authorities requesting them to allow fans to fill the stadium, and their request was approved. So you're expecting Mamelodi Sundowns to play in front of 75,000 fans in that Cairo International Stadium, who are going to make the atmosphere very, very, very difficult for them. But there's something interesting about the barren draw in ties like these, where the away goals rule still applies and stuff like that, that people don't pay a lot of attention to. Now, because for me, I look at it going into the return leg, and it is advantage. I would want to think it is advantage the visiting team, in this case Mamelodi Sundowns, because any scoring draw actually sees them advance because of the away goals rule. Well, on the other hand, the home team has one option: just win the game. A draw does not favor them in any way.
No, it doesn't. The thing about these two-legged affairs is, if you have a home game, please take advantage of it in every way possible, because we know that on the African continent, it's really hard for you to travel away and put up a show. If you do, you require more than just the team performing to actually do that. You need that extra effort. You need to push yourselves over the line, which in most cases makes it a bit hard for the teams that are traveling. So especially now, where there is a lot at stake, we talked about the importance of the Champions League to Ahly, and now that they're going to have a full stadium, it's going to be really hard for Sundowns to go out there and get a result. That said, they're used to this intimidating environment. They've been there. Sometimes they come out victorious. So you can count on that and think that is going to spur them on. They have to be much calm, collected, but also take advantage of the opportunities that they have before them, because you want to put those Maghreb nations down, or those Arab clubs down. When you get the opportunity, kill it off. And when you do that and you're ahead of them, you know, they tend to start playing under pressure and sometimes fall short. So I think that should be the target that Sundowns should go with. I like that Miguel Cardoso has said they're going to give everything, and some of the Sundowns players as well are saying they're going to give everything in Cairo. And it's the only way to go, really.
The return of Themba Zwane,
Yeah.
would you say perfect timing? He hadn't played football in a very long time because of injury. Just the previous day, the club had announced that he had extended his contract until 2026. He's the captain of the team. He had a few minutes in there. How huge is a boost for Sundowns going into the return leg in Cairo?
It's a massive boost for Themba Zwane to return to Mamelodi Sundowns. He's a player that has been there, done it. Joined the club in 2011 from Pumulanga Aces. He's won over 16, domestic trophies. Won the Champions League with them. Played at the FIFA Club World Cup. I mean, he's been there at the club for the highs and the lows. So this is really, really even more important. He's, you've talked about the club giving him or extending his contract. There is no better motivation for Musheshi, like he's called, to actually go on and help the club get a result. He's played under these atmospheres, under Pitso Mosimane and under Lolani Mokoena. So I feel like it's a massive, massive thing. Of course, he had to get a few minutes, but I'm pretty sure in the return leg he will get more involved to help the club try and make it past Ahly so that they reach their first final since 2016.
2016, of course, that means that our players like Peter Shauride will have a little bit of support in front of the box in that return leg. The other good news that probably will interest Ugandans is the fact that Dennis Masindo Nyango, much as there might not be an announcement coming through, he will also extend his stay at least by a year at Mamelodi Sundowns, because information I was getting that the 2-year contract he had signed, there was an option to renew. So
to trigger the...
Exactly. So at least he's still there for another extra season. Peter, the other semi-final that was supposed to be played at the Orlando Stadium, but wasn't played there because of NISTA function that was happening there, was played at the FNB Stadium. That was between Mamelodi Sundowns and Pyramids. But unlike the game the game between Mamelodi Sundowns and Ahly, you thought that probably the crowd should have been a little bit decent at the FNB Stadium. It is a 7 p.m. kickoff and stuff like that. But looks like you had mentioned in our previous episodes, it was always going to be hard for Orlando Pirates to pull a crowd away from the Orlando Stadium to the FNB Stadium because the turn-up was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, the turn-up was disappointing, but I think I would look at another factor. The FNB Stadium is one of the biggest stadiums on the African continent. Officially sits 90,000, but it's registered as 85,000 people. 85,000 people is a lot of people to fill up at the FNB Stadium. And sometimes when the funds are sizable, they seem to look like they are not sizable. Because the stadium is too big.
Right now, it's only the derby that fills up.
Yes, it's so maybe Bafana if they're playing a big team as well. But yes, it's only the derby that fills up that stadium. 85,000 people is quite a lot of people at the FNB. That said, the Buccaneers, the funds, the Orlando Pirates funds that came through were sizable enough. I think towards the start of the second half, there's a section that was really, really filled up, and you could see that they were singing and cheering on their team to help them win. But it's a big stadium. Yeah.
And then the fixture itself, another barren draw, according to the Pyramids coach. He won the tie 2-0. Of course, there were goals that were ruled out for offside and stuff like that. But on any other day, if you have a visiting team, showing that they can actually find the back of the net at your own backyard, you have to worry if you're Orlando Pirates and you're again playing the return leg in Cairo.
Yeah, I think Pyramids were very unlucky. Pirates were very lucky. 2 goals could have buried that tie if VAR wasn't there and if those goals were awarded. But for starters, I think VAR was on point. The referee rightly called off the goals, the handball, and I think the offside. And Pirates can live to die another day. That will be in Cairo. But of course, to the game, again, a bit similar to the one in Pretoria. There was not a lot of talking points. Both teams seemed to be calm and cancelled each other out. A few a few chances here and there for Pirates to try and break through. Pyramids as well. Sipo Chaine, the Orlando Pirates goalkeeper, was called into action a couple of times to make sure that he keeps his side at bay. That he did. And I think we've talked about that Pirates team and the collectiveness that they have and being together for a while. And I feel that that is what has enabled them to reach this far in the competition. So Pirates remain unbeaten because we actually had to mention that in the Confed Cup, Constantine lost to Aras Bakane, and that tie was buried. Bakane winning by 4-0, so Bakane remain unbeaten. Same story with Pirates in the Champions League. So you feel like they have a lot to do in Egypt, that's for sure. Why? Because Pyramids have really had a very good campaign in the group stages of the Champions League. They've scored 13 goals at home. I think they won at home alone. They won their first game 5-0, their third game in the group 6-1. They've been scoring for fun. And you can see that that is very important because that's the motivation they need to be able to dispatch Orlando Pirates. However, Clive, Orlando Pirates as well have had a very good run in the group stages away. Why? They beat Sierra Belouizdad from Algeria in Algiers. They beat Ahly in Cairo, both 2-1, 2-1. So if you're Orlando Pirates and you've been under that environment and you've won away, it means when you travel to Cairo, you have that confidence. You've been to Cairo before, you've beat Ahly, the record league champions, the record Champions League winners. So that's the motivation Pirates go with ahead of that return leg against Pyramids. But again, it's going to be a tough one because Pyramids seem to be buoyant in their first appearance ever in the Champions League semifinals. And they want to make history by reaching the final. So there's a lot of work to do. Pirates will have to hope that people like Patrick Masangwani, Evidence Mahopa, Relabilo Mofokeng, all those are available and ready to actually help them win that tie against Pyramids in Cairo.
But still, much as they will be playing away from home, like it is the case in the Mamelodi Sundowns and Ahly tie, a goal-scoring draw sees Pirates through to the final, and the only option Pyramids have is to win the tie. But of course, like you said, they have been very, very dominant at home. They score for fun. Getting here, they defeated Farabat, was it 4-1 or something at home?
Yes.
Before eventually advancing. But then you also mentioned about a Mamelodi Sundowns, rather than Orlando Pirates side, that is not intimidated playing away from home. So you feel it is a tie where both teams will have to open up, because it must be a win for Pirates, rather for Pyramids. They want to see it at the June 30th stadium, but also Orlando Pirates are saying this is an opportunity for us. Or you expect probably now the away team to be a little bit cagey to try and force the tie into penalties, because at this level, there's no extra time. If the game is tied on aggregate 0-0, it is penalties.
No, but you feel like for Pirates, Jose Ribeiro has set up that Pirates team to attack. They're attack-minded. They don't hold back. They play the ball from the back, but also they have ball players. They have Nkota, that kid was just been promoted from their Diski team. They have Mofokeng. We've been always talking about these guys. These are kids who have the ball and they can bring it to you. In this case, Pyramids. So if you have ball players who look for those small pockets in the opponent's half, players who are able to turn a tie around, who live in moments, that I think will be the difference for Orlando Pirates. It's good that we're talking about a team that last reached the Champions League final in 2013. Well, that's a bit of time from then till now, but that also counts, because like we said, Pyramids are there for the first time. Pirates have been there. They've reached the Champions League final. They've reached the Confed Cup final, in a space
in the last decade.
Yeah, in the last 7-8 years. And that counts, So for me, I feel that should be the advantage for Pirates.
And then I'll put you on the spot. I'm still fancying an all South African final. I don't know if it will happen, but of course there's a huge possibility of an all Egyptian final. But what kind of final do you see?
I still insist that Pirates will play Sundowns. in that CAF Champions League final.
Is that your heart or your mind?
Let me stick to. I still think it's my mind. Yeah, not my heart. I think that will be the Champions League final.
It is my wish, and I hope my wish can come through. But Peter, away from that, of course, those games were played. The return legs are going to be played on the 25th of this month, which should be
on Friday.
Wow.
On Friday.
The Friday games.
Yeah.
But then you also have, we also had the Confederations Cup. 2 games, at least they produced some goals. Simba defeated Stellenbosch 1-0 in Zanzibar. They carry that slim advantage into the return leg in South Africa.
Yeah, massive shift from Simbazi beating up on Stellenbosch 1-0 in a very unfamiliar territory. Of course, they usually play league games there, but not those games of that magnitude in the CAF Confederation Cup. I mean Zanzibar, the Aman Stadium, where they played. Very good capacity crowd that came out to support them. And if you're Simba and you're in the semifinals and you dream to actually go on to win the Confederation Cup, that kind of character is what you need to come out on top and beat a team like Stellenbosch, who are in the semifinals for the very first time. Kudos to the team. I mean, Simba had on the starting lineup players who have been at the club for 8-9 years. Shomari Kapombe, Mohamed Hussein, maybe Dennis Kibu Prosper has also been there for a while. So those 3 already gave them experience and gave them character, to try and fight and get a result. Then, of course, if you add other players like the goal scorer who tapped home that free kick to give them the lead just before halftime, then you have a team that is mixed with experience and also young talent that wants to fight for the badge. And I feel after they scored in the second half, they could have killed off the tie. There is that one chance that
that is making rounds
on player missed. He beats all the defenders, the goalkeeper, and he fails to slot it.
His left foot betrayed him.
Yes, if he had scored that goal, massive advantage Simba. But even then, this 1-0 is a slim advantage. They can build on that and try and make sure that they make it to the final.
Yeah, but Peter, you also feel that it is a tie that Simba should have sealed early enough. We are talking about that opportunity that was missed, but you thought it's a game that they should have won by 3 or 4. Because if you're Simba and you had 21 shots, 5 of those were on target, against Stellenbosch 1 shot on target. And when you look at the missed opportunities, the clear-cut chances, because they created about 6 chances that you thought that this should be goal-scoring opportunities. They had the chance to seal the tie in Zanzibar, and they weren't able to, as much as they walked away with the 1-0 victory.
Yeah, of course, with Champions League football, man, sometimes it's hard. You have to put away chances. But if you fall short but still come out on top, I feel like you can go with that. I was watching, the post-game reactions of the top Simba officials in the dressing room. And they were telling the players, now is not the time to think about, I missed this chance, I should have scored, I should have defended well. All that is gone and done. The focus is now on going to South Africa. We have more 90 minutes, and if we see them through, we're in the final. So I hear you, because even Steven Mukwala had a chance, I think in the second half to score, but was unable to. But I feel like that 1-0 win is a motivation for them to actually go to South Africa and get a result. It won't be an easy one. Of course, Stellenbosch are going to come out all guns blazing. But the target for Simba is play safe. If you can't score a goal, even better, and then make it to your first final ever of the Confederation Cup.
Of course, Barkane at home made an easy meal out of Constantine, 4-0. And you would say that unless otherwise, they're already in the finals of the CAF Confederations Cup. Yeah,
2-time champions looking for their 3rd title. That done is easily done and dusted. That tie is easily done and dusted. RS Barkane with they've had a very good performance. As a matter of fact, they're unbeaten in the Confederation Cup this season since the group stages. I think they even topped their group on 16 points. 5 wins, 1 draw, and scored loads of goals. So you can see, like we said in the Champions League, how a team performs in the group stages really goes a long way in showing you how they'll perform later on. So scoring goals has not been a problem for RS Berkane all through. That's why they're able to score 4 past Constantine and kill off the tie. So Berkane in the final, waiting for whoever wins between Simba and Stellenbosch.
Well, that would be an interesting one. Of course, we badly want to have Simba in the final. Having a team from around the region in the final, for me, I feel it is a huge confidence booster, and we are waiting to see how Simba will be conducting themselves in that game that will be played in Stellenbosch. Stellenbosch are in the semifinals of this competition, but we should also remember that they are debutants in this competition.
Yes.
And see how far they are going.
By the way, Clive, when Young Africans reached the final of the Confed Cup, they also eliminated the South African team, Marumo Gallants.
Yes, at the semis.
At the semis. So maybe that should also motivate or spur Simba to motivate the South African team in Stellenbosch to reach the final and then see how far it's interesting or how far that can go.
Well, if you're watching us from probably Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, and you're wondering what it will take for your teams to get to a stage like this, outside the huge investments, Peter, the other thing that I also discovered,
Yes.
you have 8 teams in the semifinals, 4 in the Champions League, 4 in the Confederations Cup, and they all travel by charter.
Absolutely.
We are nothing like a layover in Ethiopia for 7 hours and stuff like that. I mean, we had a volleyball team traveling, Nemostars traveling to Libya for the men's club championship, and they had a layover in Istanbul before they connected to Libya. Some of our biggest challenges as teams, and you've traveled with some of these football clubs, is the manner in which we travel.
Yeah, it definitely has a cost implication, but also it affects the players. You see, there is no two ways to it. If you want your players to arrive fresh, to have enough time to rest, because traveling affects the players really. And if I'm not rested enough, it becomes hard for them to concentrate and get a result. So you have to go the extra mile as a club to make sure that the travel is as smooth as possible. Unfortunately, if you're unable to charter flights, it becomes a bit hard for you to compete. So it's lots of money spent, but also now we know that CAF is reinvesting back, the monies to the clubs, and you're able to maybe even smile to the bank with how far you can go in these competitions.
Well, that's all the time we had for you on this episode on our YouTube channel, CK Sports. We are waiting for your comments. By the way, let us know who you think will be playing in the finals of the CAF Champions League and the CAF Confederations Cup. Will it be an all-Egyptian final? Will it be an all-South African final? But also in the Confederations Cup, who would you fancy to get into the final? If you're yet to subscribe to our channel, just a polite reminder to hit that subscribe button. Let our audience grow, and let us grow together. A big thank you to all the subscribers, those who like our content, those who comment on our content, but also those who go out of your way to share our content with different people. Clive Kyazze is my name. I've been in good company of Peter Tabu. Check him out on YouTube, Pitchside with Peter Tabu. And yes, that's all the time we had for you. Catch you again in the next episode.